Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show.
Cup of Joe Wrestling Show
with Joey Harris. A podcast for the wrestling fan on the go. So take your favorite beverage of choice and join Joey as he takes a look at some of the biggest shows on the WWE Network.
Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show. I am your host, Joey Harris. This is the podcast for the wrestling fan on the go. There are a lot of great podcasts out there, but you may not have 6 hours to listen to one. So take your favorite beverage of choice as we look at some of the biggest shows on the WWE Network. Today we look at the first Saturday night's main event of 1988. Saturday night's main event 14 was broadcast on NBC on January the 2nd, 1988. And it was taped December the 7th, 1987 from the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland. I was 9 and 2 weeks away from turning 10 when this aired. As I record this, I just had my birthday this past week. It was birthdays and business as usual at my job. This is the third busiest time of the year for my job, and due to some personnel decisions, I have been doing more than usual, which is very tiresome. Birthdays are really big in my family. My parents have 3 children. Our birthdays are the 16th, 18th, and 20th of January. We discovered several years ago, if you count backwards 9 months from January, you get April, which is my mom's birthday, and now you know what my dad gets my mom for her birthday. It's pretty simple. My dad hates to shop, and he knows what my mom likes. He doesn't even have to wrap it. Or maybe he does. I don't know. I don't like to think about my parents' sex life. In what little spare time I have, I'm also a stand-up comedian, and I told that joke one night, and some woman thought that we were triplets, and my mother was in labor for a week. But anyway, so I was 9 going on 10 in January of 1988, and as we start out, Jake Roberts says 1988 is a new year for him and for Damien. He invites Sika and Mr. Fuji to a New Year's party where he's going to change their future. Greg Valentine and new/old manager Jimmy Hart say when you combine Coco Beware and Frankie, you get one bird and one bird brain. Strikeforce says Bolsheviks beware. Slick and the Bolsheviks say there's going to be a new Russian Revolution. King Kong Bundy, Bobby Heenan, and Andre the Giant say that Andre will officially be in the corner of King Kong Bundy. Hulkamania is over and Bundymania lives. Hulk Hogan says Bundymania makes him sick. Hulkamania lives forever. We then go to our opening credits. Vince McMahon and Jesse the Body Ventura welcome us, and Jesse has to say his own Happy New Year greeting. They then run down the card for the night. Mean Gene Okerlund interviews Hulk Hogan, who's getting ready. Hogan says the only way his new year gets any better is if he could get his hands on the big stinky giant. Mean Gene then interviews the Bolsheviks and Slick. Slick says when he and the Bolsheviks had a meeting with Gorbachev, they have a game plan. He says the Bolsheviks are peaceful and not capitalistic. Slick also says Gordy and not Gorby, and Vince McMahon totally calls him out on it. WWF Tag Team Championship match, 2 out of 3 falls. Strikeforce, Tito Santana and Rick Martel versus the Bolsheviks. Nikolai Volkov and Boris Zukov with Slick. Nikolai does the Russian national anthem gimmick. They flash back to how Strikeforce won the titles from the Hart Foundation. Mean Gene interviews Strikeforce. They say that this is the year of Strikeforce. We go to our first fall, quick tags by Strikeforce. The Bolsheviks slow it down and hit some power moves. Rick Martel makes Boris Zukov submit to the Boston Crab. We go to commercial, come back. Our second fall, Volkov and Zukov hit power moves again. Goes back and forth. Slick then throws his cane to Volkov to hit Santana, but he ducks and Zukov gets hit instead, and the Santana pins him. Mean Gene then interviews Mr. Fuji and Sika. They have a long bread roll and a jar of mustard. They say Damien is dinner. Mean Gene then interviews Jake Roberts. He says he's not worried because you have to respect Damien and the DDT. Sika with Mr. Fuji versus Jake Roberts with Damien. Roberts is quick here, but Sika is too powerful to be moved. Fuji attacks Roberts with the cane. Sika gets Roberts in the corner and charges, but Jake moves and then rolls Sika up for the pin. Jake then DDTs Mr. Fuji and puts Damien on him. Mean Gene interviews Bobby Heenan, King Kong Bundy, and Andre the Giant. Heenan says per doctor's orders he can't be at ringside, but Andre will be at ringside. Bundy Mania lives. They flash back to the last Saturday night's main event and the Bobby Heenan Hulk Hogan confrontation and attack. Mean Gene then interviews Hulk Hogan. He says lightning struck once in 1987 when King Kong Bundy won, but he says Ronald Reagan is a Hulkamaniac, so he will win. I don't think that's how that works, but whatever. A lot of political talk here since we are so close to Washington, D.C. We go to our WWF Heavyweight Championship match, Hulk Hogan versus King Kong Bundy with Andre the Giant in his corner. Hogan comes out hot. They go back and forth. Bundy takes control. He subtly cheats. Hogan slams him, but he gets hurt. Hogan then does his Hulk up. Bundy charges. The ref gets in the way accidentally and gets knocked out. Bundy gets knocked outside. Other refs come down and check on the fallen ref. He gets taken away as the match continues. Hogan gets knocked outside of the ring. He does get back in as Bundy takes over again. He hits 2 avalanches. Hogan kicks out. He hulks up, hits the leg drop, and pins Bundy. Andre comes in, and Hogan taunts him. Andre backs down. Hogan must pose. If you listen to Bruce Pritchard's podcast, there was always a spot in the show where Hogan has to pose per Vince McMahon's order. Andre comes back in and headbutts and chokes out Hogan. The British Bulldogs come out to help and get manhandled. Then Andre goes back to Hogan. More wrestlers come out and they struggle to get him off. Hacksaw Jim Duggan hits Andre with the 2x4, and that does it. It gets Andre off. But if you look at this show, if you look at that 2x4, it hits and breaks apart, and one piece goes flying out into the audience. That could have been a really dangerous spot right there. Someone could have seriously gotten hurt. Doesn't look like they did, though, and they go on with the show. Jesse interviews Jimmy Hart and Greg Valentine. Valentine is happy being back with Jimmy Hart, so they do acknowledge that he was his manager before Valentine had gone with Luscious Johnny V, along with Brutus Beefcake to form the Dream Team, and then with Dino Bravo to form the New Dream Team. Mean Gene interviews Koko Beware and Frankie. Koko says Valentine and Hart are featherweights. Koko Beware with Frankie versus Greg Valentine with Jimmy Hart. Valentine attacks early. Koko tries to fight back. Brutus Beefcake comes down to ringside. Referee Joey Morella tells him that he has to leave. Greg Valentine dominates again, back and forth. Valentine gets the figure 4 on Koko, and Koko submits. Beefcake comes back down and chases Valentine to the back. Beefcake then comes back and cuts some of Jimmy Hart's hair. They replay the Andre attack on Hulk Hogan. Mean Gene interviews Bobby Heenan and Andre the Giant. Andre says he enjoyed himself. Heenan says Andre is going to choke the belt away. He then says he is close to clinching a deal for Andre. Mean Gene is then back talking to Jesse Ventura, who loved the attack on Hogan. They say Hogan has a damaged windpipe. They have to work in crushed larynx because Vince apparently loves the word crushed larynx. Vince, Jesse, and Mean Gene then close out the show. There are a number of ways that you can contact me. You can follow the show's Twitter at Cup of Joe Pod. You can email the show at cupofjoewrestlingshow@gmail.com. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I am at the Joey Harris. Thank you for joining me this week. Please leave a rating for us, and it helps people find the show. This is Joey Harris saying so long from Stately, Maine Manor.
The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show is a production of Baby Kangaroo Media.